All right, here we are with another episode of Talking Sports with the Legend. Today's guest is Sam Oropeza, an MMA fighter.
Thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
Where are you from?
So I am originally from Delaware County, and the neighborhood that I grew up in was called Briarcliff.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at Monsignor Bonner. It's in Drexel Hill, PA.
Did you play any sports in high school?
Yeah, so I wrestled. And Steve, to tell you about my wrestling career in high school, I was probably one of the worst wrestlers on the team. I stuck with it, and I kept training, and I became a professional fighter back in 2009.
Wow. Cool. Did you play any other sports?
So as a kid, I played basketball, I played football, but really, the way I described myself was I was the best athlete who was terrible at sports. So I could run, I could jump, but when it came to actually shooting a basketball, catching a football, I wasn't really that good at it.
Is that why you chose wrestling? You could grab the guy?
Yes. That's when you realize you're a fighter at that point. You might as well start fighting.
Did you ever get to fight Eddie Alvarez?
So I started training with Eddie Alvarez back in 2007. He has always been a role model of mine. He is somebody that I've always looked up to. And he was, one of the big inspirations behind me becoming a professional fighter. And, I still look up to Eddie to this day. I mean, he is a multiple-time world champion and just all-around great guy.
What weight class?
Oh, what weight class are you in?
So, Steve, I fought when I was younger, and when you get older, it's harder to lose the weight. So when I was younger, I fought at 170 pounds, and then that weight cut was just too much to do. So I started fighting at 185 pounds. And my last fight that I did was in 2017. So it's been a while, but that was at cruiserweight, and that was a boxing match. So that was 200 pounds. So to kind of show you the progression from being 22 years old to 32 years old, you start to put on some weight.
What did you do after high school? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Williamson Trade School. I worked in the trades. I started working in a refinery. I put it this way, working in a refinery, it was very hard work, and mostly refineries are right off the river. So in the middle of January, when it's that cold out and you're 60 feet up in the air trying to fix a piece of equipment, it wasn't the most enjoyable job that I had, but it was something that I'm glad I did.
Tell Steve and his followers about the school you went to, the trade school. Our neighbor went there. He unfortunately passed away last year from cancer. But
wow.
I know other people that went to that school. Could you tell everybody?
Matthew going to go there?
Yeah, his cousin was looking into going, but he never wound up going. Can you tell everybody about that school?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So Williamson Trade School was founded by Isaiah Williamson. Isaiah Williamson was friends with John Wanamaker and Stephen Gerrard. He was basically like a Mark Cuban of his time. This was in the late 1800s. He was originally from Ben Salem, and he felt bad for fatherless children. So what he wanted to do was to start a school that would help fatherless children that are growing up in poverty in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. So he took $5 million back then, which was a lot more than $5 million today, of his own money, and bought the ground where Williamson is and built the school. So he was not even alive when the first graduating class graduated from Williamson, which I believe was like 1888 was the first graduating class. But To tell you more about the school, it is it is a paramilitary in the sense that we got inspected in the morning. We had to be clean shaved. We had to have our shoes shine. We had to be wearing a suit that was well pressed and well kept. And basically, the way I like to explain it is from the ages of 18 to 21, your brain is very malleable. So the habits that you build at those ages are the habits that you will most likely keep for the rest of your life. So we weren't allowed to drink alcohol and we weren't allowed to do drugs, and you should never do drugs. And if you got caught drinking alcohol or doing drugs, you were immediately expelled from the school and you had to leave the premises immediately. So it was a great school. I got a great education. And even though I don't work in the trades anymore, I carry the habits that Williamson, helped me build every day of my life. And these are habits that I will keep with me for the rest of my life. And they're habits that, really build good character and really build a good work ethic.
The school is out in Media also, right?
Yes, it's right on 352 in Media, PA. And it's been there for a long time now, and it's funded by the alumni, and it's still funded by the endowment that Isaiah Williamson left. And I just absolutely love the story because you can really make a difference in this world. You can. And, he has been making a difference in this world since the 1800s. And he has been helping. For me, I lost my father at a young age. So knowing that somebody put a school in place for someone like me has inspired me still to this day.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you telling everybody, because I've been promoting it since I heard about it years ago. I had a customer and her son went there for painting, and I met a couple other guys that went there for plumbing, and it's amazing. And I've been telling people forever, for the trades are not going to ever go away. We need people to do them. That's awesome. Go ahead, Steve.
Do you have a regular job?
Yeah. So, Steve, I work in real estate. So, to tell you about that, I'm licensed to sell real estate in the state of Pennsylvania and the state of New Jersey. A little over 3.5 years ago, I found my niche, which is working in Kensington, the Harrogate neighborhood, to be precise, working with investors and developers. And, my theory behind it was I'd rather be the first person in a neighborhood that I saw such great potential in than try to jump on board in a neighborhood that has already been developed. So for over 3.5 years, I have been doing the bulk of my business right here in Philadelphia. My office is on the 1800 block, the East Venango Street, right across the street from the Harrogate Boxing Club. And, working in real estate has taught me so much about running a business, but also it's taught me so much about community development and community organizing within the community. And that's why I started my nonprofit called Rescue, where we go and we clean up the streets.
That's awesome.
I grew up in Kensington.
Yep.
Did you? Where are you from?
Lived on Tampa Street.
Oh, from Tampa Street. Okay.
Yeah, we were in the Ascension Parish. Me and my wife bought the house in 1985. We moved on the same block as the Comeys, Comey. I'm sure you know the Comeys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Stephen grew up with all. He was a lot younger than those guys, but he grew up on that street. We moved out in 1999, but I spent my childhood at a little west of where I moved. I lived at Front in Allegheny growing up. So what you're doing, people don't understand, Steve. You got to tell these people out there, he's in a neighborhood where most people are getting away from, and he decided to go into the neighborhood to help out that community. And I've driven through Harrogate and recent times, and I could tell somebody's been doing something. So it's great to meet somebody who's actually doing some positive work in that community. It's awesome.
Thank you. And Ascension Parish was the biggest parish in Philadelphia at one time too?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
How about a guy named Buddy Osborne? Do you know Buddy?
Yeah. I've never been formally introduced to them, but I mean, you can't not know Buddy Osborne working in Kensington and Rock Ministries, the work that they do. And really growing up without my father, having boxing and martial arts was one of the saving graces, I like to call it, that helped me stay on the right track, build discipline, learn about goal setting. And really the most important thing that I think most young boys becoming men need to learn is emotional control. And right now in the city of Philadelphia, you're seeing people that are adult age, but they have the emotional control of young children because, in my opinion, Philadelphia is a fatherless city, and it's heartbreaking to see these young kids throw their lives away or shoot somebody over something that could have just been resolved with just talking.
Here, man. You ought to run for political office, Sam. I think you can touch a lot of people.
Well, I am. I'm running for state senate. It's a special election, May 17th. So trying to get the word out there too.
Now this is Philadelphia, right?
Yeah. So John Sabatina was the state senator here in the district. He's stepping down to go be a judge in the city. And I am the Republican candidate. If you've been following the race, my current opponent is withdrawing. So I may be running unopposed.
Awesome.
And I'm excited. I'm ready to work, and I'm ready to serve the community.
All right. Well, we're going to reach out to everybody. We're out. Unfortunately, we're in Montgomery County, so we can't vote for you, right? Or we can't.
No, you can't because you're outside of the city limits. Well, it would be only in the 5th district. But I mean, being able to get on this podcast with you, Steve, is tremendous, and it's only going to help me out so much. And I appreciate you, number one, allowing people to have a platform where they can talk about issues. And this is so important that you do this, and I thank you for it.
Well, we thank you for coming on, because you've been one of the things that I've been telling Stephen about. We need more people like yourself to get out there and then do something like you said. And you got a great background. Go ahead, Steve. Go back to your questions. I'm sorry.
When did you start? What made you start doing MMA?
So when I was a kid, I saw Bloodsport, the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, when I was 5 years old. And I got to be honest, I think that was the reason why I wanted to do MMA. If you watch that movie, it was, and again, that story was all made up, and they said it was based on true events with Frank Dukes. But there was so much mystique when I was a young kid with martial arts, and I wanted to learn so much about it. And, growing up, I saw how important it is to know how to defend yourself. And especially for people living in Philadelphia today, unfortunately, I think every young kid should learn how to defend themselves, because once you start learning, you have a respect for it. And when you respect it, you won't use it to harm another human being.
So you've retired from MMA?
Yeah, I started a family in 2015, and that was like the turning point where I loved fighting. It was a big part of my life. But when you have children, when you get hit in the head, it's not a good idea. And you're seeing now what happens from concussions, everything, and it's just, we got to preserve our brain cells. So I'm trying my best to make sure what I have left upstairs I keep.
So ask him how long was his career?
How long was your career?
So I fought for over a decade. I had 18 professional fights, 16 were MMA. I was 13-3. I had 13 wins, 3 losses. And I had 2 boxing fights at the end of my career. I was 2-0 in boxing. And I did the boxing because I always wanted to cross over, but at the same time too, as I got older, getting kicked in the leg and wrestling just really started to take its toll on my body. So I thought boxing would be, something that would be easier on my body. So that's why I went with the 2 boxing matches at the end of my career.
easier on your body, but harder on your head.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm sure
My knees.
yeah, I'm sure your wife ended that career real fast after you're 2-0. She said, retire undefeated, Steve. That's what she told Sam. Retire undefeated.
And I have the best picture of me. I won the fight, but I had to go to the hospital. So it was like, yeah, I lost the fight, basically. You don't, when you win and you go to the hospital, you lost.
How far did you travel?
Oh, I traveled. So the furthest I've ever went, Steve, was to the Philippines back in 2019 with Eddie Alvarez. He was fighting out in the Philippines, and that was a 16-hour-and-a-half flight, direct flight, the longest I've ever been on an airplane. And I'm not the kind of guy that likes to be on an airplane. And I'll never forget when I opened the window and all you see is the ocean for basically the whole trip, because we left from JFK Airport in New York. And when you see the Philippines, it's all like windy little rivers. I never was so excited to see land in my life. So it's the second longest direct flight. And when you go to the Philippines, it's a 12-hour time difference. So 3 p.m. here is 3 a.m. there. So it took a while for me to get adjusted to the time difference. But that was the furthest I traveled. But I got to travel the whole country when I was fighting. I got to go to Las Vegas. I fought in Chicago. I fought in New Mexico. I fought in Connecticut. I fought in Spokane, Washington, Atlantic City, New Jersey, Philadelphia. I've got to travel the country fighting, and it really, really loved it and enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Did you ever get to try out for the Olympic team?
No. So unfortunately, when you turn pro, right, and you get paid to do something, you are no longer an amateur. So the Olympics are for amateurs. And again, if you are a gold medalist in the Olympics, you basically are the best in the world. So it's not that being a professional makes you superior to an amateur. It's just once you have a professional card, you can't go back to being an amateur.
Yeah, unless it's basketball or other sports.
Yeah, right. Unless it's the sports they let you do it in.
Yeah, they changed the rules, Steve. Back in the day, everybody was an amateur, even the hockey players. That's why the hockey players, when they won in 1980, was such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the last question I have: if you could have dinner, if you could hang out, have dinner with 3 boxers or MMA fighters, who would they be and why?
Oh, if I could have dinner with 3 boxers or MMA fighters,
Mm-hmm.
who would it be and why? Okay. So I would say they're all 3 of them are going to be boxers. So the number one guy that I would like to hang out with, boxer, and talk to would be Roberto Duran. And why? Because, and again, I hope everybody understands when I say this, I'm not saying this in a way, any other way besides I enjoy watching the sport, and I admire certain qualities within a sport, not don't separate the sport and then put it into real life. So Roberto Duran, because he was so mean in the ring. And when you see a fighter that was mean and was tough, you know that he walked a rough path in life so he could have that spirit when he fought in the ring. So Roberto Duran would be number one. Number 2 would be George Foreman, for the complete opposite. George Foreman is the nicest guy, I think. So I would like to talk to him. Plus, he fought some of the best fighters in the world. And I would say number 3 would be Jaron Boots Ennis, because he's a Philadelphia fighter. And in my opinion, he is the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. So I'd like to tell people that I sat down and had dinner with the best pound for pound fighter in the world.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you for your time, man.
And Sam, we're gonna
Thank you, Steve.
We're gonna put the word out, get you even if you do run against somebody, we're gonna get you in there. And then once you get in there, we want you to stay in there as long as you can, man. That's great.
And thank you guys, and thank you so much for the support. This goes such a long way, and I appreciate it so much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.